This is Ray.
And this is Andy.
And this is FDS Local Sports.
How's it going this week, Ray?
Well, it's going much better here, Andy, and the fact that we're in a much cleaner locker room than we were in last week.
I had a lot more time to find us a location this week, so, I was a little picky this time considering what we went through last week.
Well, this locker room looks much nicer.
Yep.
And, Andy, we got tons of football to talk about tonight because not only are we going to be talking about AUS football, but what else are we going to be talking about?
We're going to be talking about high school football.
High school football, week 1 just ended, so we got a lot of games to get into. Let's kick it off with some AUS, and why don't you tell us about what happened in the Mount Ace St. Mary's game?
So Saturday, we were both down in Sackville for this game. Obviously, you were involved in officiating one of the high school games that we'll get to later, and then we bolted right over to Mount East Field.
Right over.
To watch this game against the high-powered St. Mary's Huskies. My goodness, they're fun to watch. St. Mary's took the game 25-13. I was close pretty much the entire game. There was some excellent play. There was a fake field goal that I thought was very exciting. The crowd went crazy. In the end, St. Mary's was up 18-13, and Caleb Scott ran the ball in from the 40-yard line for a touchdown. And there was no looking back at that point. So what a high-powered offense. What did you think of the game?
I thought the game was excellent. Caleb Scott once again showed why he could be the most outstanding player in the AUS this year. The guy is outstanding. He can put the ball downfield. He can run that last play of the game, really. He had the ball on the 40-yard line, ran it in for 40 yards to put the nail in the coffin on this game. He is a very exciting football player. This game was very tight. Mm-hmm. My biggest question in this game was Aiden O'Neill. We talked about him so much the week prior to. And Andy, when you look at the stats on Aiden O'Neill this week, he touched the ball once for 19 yards. I really think that we talk about Richards, we talk about Josh Hicks. I think they've got to find a way to get the ball in his hands more often if they want to see more successful plays on offense. Yeah, well,
and that one touch was a reception, and what set this game apart, just in terms of Aiden O'Neill anyways, is they were actually giving him carries out of the backfield, and it was huge rewards off of those carries against Bishops. So that was the difference. Kyle Ambersley was in the game, and he shared the carries almost even with Chris Reed, so perhaps he was out the week before. We'll look into that. But yeah, I definitely think even if both these runners are in the game, Aiden O'Neill brings a different look, a different feel coming out of the backfield, especially when you don't always know they're going to hand it off to him. They could have used a few stunts like that.
The most interesting thing in this game for me, though, Andy, was the fact that you mentioned I ref the Tantramar game. We'll talk about that a little bit. But then afterwards, at the game, ran into Coach O'Neill, and at halftime we had a great conversation, and there's a future podcast that could be coming out from that game.
Yeah, that's true.
And we'll give you more details on that later.
Caleb Scott ended up 20 for 34, Ray, for 265 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and, of course, he ran the ball for 70 yards and a touchdown as well. Again, like last year, he will be my early prediction for most outstanding player. It's just another level out there when you watch him play quarterback.
He's a very exciting football player. And stay tuned, folks, because we're working on having an exclusive interview with him here on First Down Sports.
Yeah, some other stats. So Jonathan Simonkinda.
Very good.
Is that
good
how you
job.
say that?
Good
That's
job.
my best shot at that.
Yeah.
He had, is this 13 carries for 54 yards?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. No touchdowns for him, but he still pushed the ball downfield for 54 yards.
Yeah, and then we got Rick Lemoignan with 4 receptions for 84 yards, so he did a lot of damage there as well. Yeah. On the Mount A side, Troy Downton, 16 for 26, 166 yards. He had a touchdown, 2 interceptions. He added a little bit on the ground rushing. Chris Reed, over 100 yards.
Over 100 yards.
Monster out there. He did that in 18 carries. Josh Hicks had 3 receptions for 58 yards. Malik Richards, of course, the superstar receiver for the Mounties, had a touchdown. He had 6 receptions for 42 yards. And again, like you said, Aiden O'Neill, 1 reception for 19 yards. So hopefully we'll see him involved a little more.
Yeah, I think their next game, we'll talk about that in a few seconds, but hopefully the next game they find a way to get him into the offense.
Yes, sir. All right.
Let's move over to Acadia.
They were announcing the scores a little bit during the game, but I didn't get to see much of this one. What happened?
Acadia was down playing at Bishops. Acadia pretty well led this game from the time the game started to the time the game finished. Okay. Sadly for the Bishop Gators, Matthew Demers, the starting quarterback, was injured in the first quarter and was replaced by Dylan Tucker, who came in and ran the offense from there. He's from Campbell River, BC.
Yep.
Bishops, they scored late in the game, but let me tell you about up front. So once again, Hunter Grunard, the quarterback for Acadia, had an unbelievable day, 17 for 23, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dale Wright, who is another outstanding, he was last year's most outstanding player.
He's in the running again, I'm sure.
78 yards and a touchdown. But the player of the game from this game is Cordell Hastings. And again, this is just another name. We mention him all the time. Yep. 133 yards, 2 touchdowns. Acadia is rolling right now. They're playing some really good football. Don't forget about our good friend that we interviewed over the summer. Gloden had 3 receptions for 43 yards as well. And again, this defense, we talk about them week after week, but this defense is led by Moncton's own Bailey Feltmate. He had another 7.5 total tackles and a forced fumble out there. So this guy's playing really good football. Bishops just couldn't get it going. The new guy came in. He went 12 for 23, 102 yards, no touchdowns. He had an interception. Nathan Walker, their top wide receiver, only had 2 catches for 31 yards.
Yep.
It just was a tough day for Bishops altogether. And Acadia looks really strong. And it will be really interesting this weekend coming up, Andy, because Acadia is going to be hosting for their homecoming game Mount A.
Oh.
So Mount A will be traveling down there. We're really going to get to see these 2 teams, and we've just talked about both these 2 teams quite a bit. It'll be really interesting to see how this ball game goes down in Acadia.
For sure, and similar to wanting to see a little bit more O'Neill coming out of the backfield, Gloden Mulally coming out of the backfield is also fun to watch. Acadia just didn't need that trick this game.
They didn't need it.
So we'll see.
Bishops is the second game. Bishops is going to be traveling to St. Avex. Their game is Saturday at 3 p.m.
All right.
So hopefully Bishops can get their quarterback situation resolved, and that should be 2 great games this weekend.
Absolutely. Want to talk some high school?
Let's talk some high school football.
Let's start with the 12-man division, where we had Leo Hayes roll into Moncton. Moncton handled that game 30-14. I believe that was a Friday night. Was that game?
That was on Friday night.
Yep.
The most exciting thing for this game, from what I've been told by numerous sources, was they had a special guest announcer for the game.
Yeah, I heard people that weren't even at the game had a lot to say about that voice that they were hearing ringing in their backyards and so on.
Let's just say shoppers did very well that night in selling Tylenol, and Aleve apparently was going off the shelves like crazy.
I heard you did a good job, Ray.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Took you a while to get the hang of it and get your mouth off the mic, I heard.
Yes, apparently I was too close to the mic.
Right, but anyway, things settled down and you did a heck of a job.
I enjoyed it.
All right.
I enjoyed it.
And did you enjoy the game?
The game was fantastic. Moncton High looked really strong in this game. Leo Hayes looked strong too. Unfortunately, just some plays down in the red zone didn't go through for them. They had a tough time converting in the red zone. Moncton High looks really good. They got a quarterback, number 8. His name's Brady Newcomb. Looks really strong. Has a really good arm. Threw for 3 touchdowns, 2 to number 86 Ryan LeBlanc, and 1 to Jack Perry. They got a running back. Here's an interesting thing. On the roster sheet, it was number 2, but he wore number 3 on the field. His name is Nick Pilatus. He ran for a touchdown as well. He was all over the field. And they got a couple kids on defense, but this one guy in particular, number 32, he played offense and defense. His name is Keegan St. Amon. He was all over the field, making plays sideline to sideline. So Moncton High's got a real exciting team this year, and we can't forget about the guys up front. Moncton High has promised me they're going to get me more stats for games coming up, but I have to give a shout-out to number 60 on the line, Jacob Scharnberg.
Awesome. Yes. Nephew.
Nephew,
right. Correct. And the only other thing I would add is, listen, when there's first-time guys calling the game up there, make sure the number on the jersey matches the number on the sheet.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
makes it a lot easier.
Hard enough to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
Next game up, we had Riverview roll into Fredericton, and roll they did, 41-7.
41-7. They rolled Fredericton so hard they knocked the lights out at the park.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently, the fields in Fredericton, Andy, the lights are on a timer.
Okay.
And there was a delay to the start of this game. I don't know if it was weather. There was something that caused a delay in this game. And there was also a delay at halftime. And with those two delays, when you added it up, they ran out of time. At 15 minutes, there was 3 minutes left to go in the game, and the teams decided to call it because the lights had shut half off. And as soon as they decided to call it, about 20 seconds later, the field was pitch black.
My goodness, almost like a bit of a Ravens Super Bowl experience there.
But let's talk about the games.
Undoubtedly, this was led by our buddy Logan Grossman.
That's right.
Tell me
Grossman,
about it.
He had an MVP night.
Whew.
MVP. He throws for 160 yards, runs 160 yards, throws for 4 touchdowns, Andy.
Whoa.
He also runs the ball for 40 yards and for a touchdown as well. Running back Jared Spear, he had 9 carries for 84 yards. And the wide receivers for for Riverview High, they look really good. Cody Barton, 4 receptions, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jackson Green, 4 catches, 46 yards and a touchdown. And guess what, Andy? He's also their kicker. He went 5 for 6 on converts.
Nice.
So this kid's very talented. Couple other shout-outs here. Brady Morris, he had a touchdown. He's a fullback and defensive end. On defense, he had 3 solo tackles, 2 assists, and 1 sack as well. And DB Wesley Riley had 4 solo tackles, 3 assists, and 2 knockdowns. Riverview had a total of 315 yards. And just to give a quick shout-out, late in the third quarter, Fredericton High got their first touchdown, and it was scored by their quarterback, Will Hicks, who scored on a 6-yard run. Awesome. So, Riverview's off and running. They have a strong team. And look, the 12-man division is going to be a great division to watch as this season goes.
Well, the final game of the 12-man division was the game that you and I were both at. You were out there wearing the white hat. Jeannie and I were in the stands to watch this one as St. John visited Tantramar. This game, for a while, was very close, very competitive, and there was a major turn. Tantramar ended up winning this game 35-7. But in the first half, St. John had them on the ropes.
Yes.
And they had they were down in the end zone. They were up 7-0, I believe, and they were about to go 14-0. They decided to go for it on third down. Dialed up the perfect little play to pass the ball into the end zone, wide open. If I get this wrong, I'm sorry, but I believe it was number 15. And again, I'm not trying to call anybody. I'm not even going to say his name. The receiver, the ball was a little wobbly with the wind. The wind out there in the marsh was pretty crazy.
Very strong.
And he couldn't slow himself down enough for the ball to catch up to him. Still, wobbly, right on the hands. Dropped it. They have the opportunity to go up 14-0 with very little left in the half and would have got the ball at halftime coming back out. Instead, the momentum completely switches. St. John, that just deflated them, man. They did not recover from that whatsoever.
And on the next play, number 15 for Tantramar took the ball about 90 yards downfield for a touchdown. And that really was a TSN or FDS turning point.
FDS turning point for sure. The wind was completely out of St. John's sails at that point, and there was no coming back.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, you want to move on to the 10-man?
Let's talk some 10-man football.
We'll fly through this really quickly. Simons visited KV and were handed their butts over there, 55-7.
55-7.
We've got Matthew Martin faced off against Oromocto.
Yeah, and here's a very interesting thing. Matthew Martin is one of the teams that dropped from 12-man to 10-man.
Yep.
and Oromocto 51-6. So great job to Oromocto.
Yeah, my goodness. Then another team that dropped from the 12-man to the 10-man, Harrison Trumbull. They hosted Miramichi Valley High, my high school.
Yeah.
Their third year having a team. Very proud of them for putting up those 6 points, which I believe matches their point total last season.
Well, I was the head referee in this game, and I'll tell you, when those kids scored that first touchdown, they missed the convert, but they scored the first touchdown, and it was the first touchdown of the game. There wasn't a kid that wasn't going crazy on that Miramichi sideline. They already said that was the best play in their football careers.
Should have been
so far.
Should have been a Gatorade dump there. And at some point, I got to find out who the coach is at MVHS.
Brand new coach this year. Brand new coach.
Right,
but we'll get his name and tell you more about him.
Awesome. Well, that game ended 42-6 again. So eventually, Harrison Trumbull ran away with it. École Sainte-Anne rolled into the Bernice McNaughton High School, and they were handled pretty good, 42-7. Again, the
brand new football program.
Absolutely. And the tail this week in the 10-man division, the home teams. There was only one road team that actually got a victory this week.
Yeah.
Sussex rolled into Harborview and beat them 47-6. So they rolled. St. Steve, actually, I'm wrong. Two. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I got just a couple stats for you on Sussex too. And again, I got these stats because these teams are sending these stats in. QB John Freeze had 3 touchdowns in this game. Michael Sherwood rushed the ball for a touchdown. Connor Smith and Caleb Spence are the 2 receivers that caught touchdowns in this game. And Anthony McLean blocked a punt in this game that was picked up by a kid named Aiden Hay that returned it for a touchdown. So that's an exciting play in any football game.
Absolutely. And I misspoke a moment ago. There was a second team that won on the road, and that was St. Stephen. They went into St. Malachy's 42-14. And the final game of the week was James M. Hill, the other Miramichi squad, went into Rothsay. Rothsay took that 40-6.
40-6. And again, out of Rothsay, quarterback Riley Henwood put up 2 running touchdowns that day. As well, he threw a 60-yard bomb touchdown to a kid named Joe McGivleray. McGivleray, I think I got that right. And running back Carter Nason also had a 50-yard run for a touchdown.
Beauty.
So they had some big plays in this game from offense from Rothsay as well.
Absolutely. Now, for the first time this week on our website, firstdownsportspodcast.com, we actually had a piece posted by Denny Duaron, one of our new high school football insiders.
He's our insider. He's our high school insider.
And he decided to post some predictions to all of these games. Now, these predictions were actually, he got them from some inside guys.
Yeah.
We have no idea who they are. We just know that they're very close to the high school scene. I've been told one of them I know very well. Based on the record here, though, it definitely can't be you.
It can't be me.
Because they're hovering around 500.
No,
so.
and the funny thing is we don't know who these 3 guys are. We're trying to figure this out as this season goes. But there's 3 guys. One goes by the name of Pistol Pete.
Pistol Pete.
We got another guy, Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
And Coach Zen.
Coach Zen.
Yeah. Parts unknown.
Now let's go through their records, because if these guys want to keep making predictions on our website, they're going to have to step up their games.
Well, actually, they did pretty good. Out of 10 games, Andy, Pistol Pete goes 8 for 10 in his predictions.
Oh, I misread this altogether then.
Yeah, he went 8 for 10.
Nice.
And the only 2 teams he got wrong on this is St. Anne and James Hill. He picked for 2 big wins for those
he
schools.
Thought the Tommies were going to get the win. Nice.
That's right. Mr. Freeze also goes 8 and 10. He picked St. Max and James Hill to win, and those are his 2 incorrect.
Again, the Tommies, huh?
Yeah. Coach Zen. I don't know who this guy is, but he's definitely highly connected. He goes 9 for 10 on the week.
Wow.
He was the only one that went against Riverview. He took Fredericton to win that game, and had he taken Riverview, it would have been a perfect 10 for 10.
Well, Riverview showed Coach Zen, that's for sure.
That's
41-7. Right.
Now, if you guys like that, and we know you did like it because we had a ton of hits on that article and a lot of feedback. Heading into this week, we're going to have more predictions from these 3 guys. Plus, they're going to put together a list of power rankings of the high school teams for the 10-man and 12-man divisions. That's pretty exciting.
Power rankings, absolutely. And I believe we had somebody from Nova Scotia reach out to us and decided they wanted to do some predictions as well. But listen, we don't publish people's work without asking them. We weren't really sure. It was totally out of the blue. Sent us a bunch of, here's my high school predictions for Nova Scotia. We asked if we could publish them. We never heard back, so maybe this week we'll even have some predictions for the Nova Scotia high school teams.
That will be exciting. I have been in contact with them. We're working out the details, but you'll have to tune in next week to FDS to see how that worked out.
And that's all for this week, guys, from the locker room.
Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy the games.